YouTube, my name is Jake Asman. Time to talk some Jets, time to talk some Jets OTAs. And joining me this week on our Jets conversation is Robby Sabo from the Jets X Factor. You also know Robby as the new host of the Underdog Jets podcast with legendary New York Jet Wayne Krabet. So, Robby, a lot to talk about with you. First things first, I want to thank everyone who's watching this live on YouTube or anyone that is new to the channel watching this on delay. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel below so I can continue to produce some great Jets content leading up to training camp and then, of course, all season long. If you're new to the show, Robby, as I mentioned, has been covering the Jets for a long time. Jets X Factor is where you need to go to get daily Jets news and insight. Robby has been at all these OTAs that have been open to the media, so he's the perfect person to have on to cover everything going on with this team. With that being said, Robby, my man, how you doing? Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Anytime, Jake. Thank you for having me. And yeah, everything's going good except those Islanders. It's getting to that point where every Rangers fan cannot stomach it any longer.
I get it. I do understand the Ranger fan not liking the Islander fan, but I would say this to the Ranger fan, and I'm sure many of the Jet faithful watching this are also Ranger fans. You couldn't root for Boston. I mean, come on. I get it. You hate the Islanders. You can't root for Marchand and the Bruins, though. I mean, root for the Lightning. I get that. But come on. The Islanders did you all a favor by defeating a Boston team in the playoffs. I know you won't admit it, Ranger fans, but it's not the worst thing in the world that the Islanders are advancing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, two rounds, not a big deal. I witnessed 93. I witnessed the Tavares era. 2 rounds, no big deal, but this is when it gets uncomfortable. This is when the stomach starts to turn right now. So,
you're right.
Lightning, Rangers South, let's go.
There you go. Robby Sabo with us. All right, Robby, I mentioned it. So you've been at all these OTAs that have been open to the media. Let's kind of start big picture. What have been your biggest takeaways watching Robert Saleh, watching Zach Wilson, watching the 2021 Jets?
Well, first thing that's really apparent is the atmosphere is just completely different. There's enthusiasm left and right, up, down, center. Leon Washington, even, he was brought in for special teams. He is an enthusiastic guy. I love calling him out because he really portrays the entire atmosphere and what the new coaching staff's all about. That's number one. Number two, Zach Wilson. I'm not a guy who cares about stats, who cares about, results are important in football. But at OTAs, the kid's first taste of professional football, I don't really care about that. It's everything else. It's his fundamentals. It's his mechanics. It's how he looks, how he's reacting. And I said this the other day. The best way I could describe it is he's not an overthinker. He doesn't overthink things. And in sports, to play at a high level, you can't really overthink things. The perimeter shooter who overthinks things is going to be in trouble. And I think from that standpoint, that's what Jets fans should be excited about. He's prepared. And when I say he doesn't overthink, that's a good thing because he's prepared and he reacts great. He'll have his ups and downs, there's no question. But from that standpoint, he's definitely a natural quarterback.
When you watch him play and you've seen some of the reps in either 7-on-7s or 11-on-11s, what has stood out just about, his ability to throw the football, decipher a defense, and then to follow up on that, Robby, how involved is LaFleur coaching him up? Because every Jet fan wants to know, just how the Jets offense is going to look with a quote-unquote quarterback guy, offensive genius working with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, from what I could tell, LaFleur's really hands-on, but he's not the only one. Knapp is hands-on. Calabrese is hands-on, pass game coordinator, quarterbacks coach. So it's coming from a lot of angles. It's coming from a lot of different varieties. And Wilson takes to it. Everyone knows he's coachable. So LaFleur's really hands-on. You could see him coaching him up. LaFleur likes to move around too. So he's not a stagnant guy. He's not a Charlie Weiss guy who's just going to stand there and call plays. Not to dump on Charlie Weiss. I love Charlie Weiss. But Wilson, LaFleur, in terms of concepts, you could see what you'd expect is what's pretty much happening. So, and it's very early in the process. So they're installing. I think the offense had a good advantage early on. Yesterday, Thursday, the defense had a better day. I think this is the point where they start understanding the offense. So LaFleur, hands-on, Zach Wilson taking to it very nicely. And his decision-making is tremendous, I think. with Darnold, with other guys, sometimes you're a tick late in terms of decision making. Dump it out into the flat, get to the second, third guy, get to the hot. Wilson's rarely late. And that's a really encouraging thing at this stage of the game. It hasn't even been a month and a half. So we got to keep that in mind.
Looking at the receivers that he's throwing to, obviously, Jamison Crowder not yet practicing due to the contract issue they're trying to work out. Corey Davis has been banged up, so we really have not seen much of him. Denzel Mims hasn't practiced much. Who has really emerged at that position? Like, who's Zach Wilson been targeting, given the fact that, what he thought would be his starting group of receivers to this point are not out there?
First and foremost, Elijah Moore is going to be a stud in the NFL. There's no question about it. There's no way they're going to be able to keep him off the field, even starting in week 1. He will be a major part of the offense. The only thing that holds me back from telling the world that I think he's going to be the most productive guy is his rookie status. So you got to give the nod to Corey Davis there. The guy Wilson trusts the most right now is Braxton Berrios. Berrios has always been a good route runner. Crowder's not there. Mims, they're kind of easing back into the situation. Corey Davis is injured. So it's really Berrios, Moore, and then Keelan Cole. And they're rotating too. Manasal Bailey's getting some time in the slot. Vincent Smith on the outside. I said Keelan Cole, but Berrios is the guy he really trusts. Berrios has to have by far the most targets in camp so far at OTAs. His route running is great. Wilson trusts that his route running is going to be there. The only thing with Berrios is his big catch ability. That's what hasn't been there. Maybe that improves this year, but right now Wilson to Berrios is really flying high.
When you talked about Elijah Moore just there, I imagine any Jet fan watching this, their ears kind of just perked up a little bit, Robby. I mean, every Jet fan is excited to see number 8 out there on the field. What makes Elijah Moore, so talented? When you watched him up close, what has really stood out about his game?
Yeah, I'm trying not to get Jets fans to the point of no return with Moore right away because he still is a rookie. But just know this about him. Over the long haul, he's a stud. That's what I'll say. What he shows in person live, again, like Berrios, he's a great route runner. Not only is he super athletic, he's smart too. One of the plays, Wilson, 2 more, I think it was Tuesday, and it was one of the early plays in teams. Down the right sideline, go route, one-on-one coverage against Bryce Hall, not too deep. So Bryce Hall didn't have help over the top. The single high safety could not get over in time. Hall had pretty good coverage. Moore stacked him, and you shouldn't allow a receiver to do that as a corner, but Hall was there, right hand on the hip, good coverage. Wilson, great job leading him. And Moore, the thing about Moore, the intelligence, he created separation at the last moment. He kind of knew when to create that separation to explode to the ball that was leading him. So that's what I talk about when I talk about his intelligence on top of the athleticism with the route running. So that really stood out, and the placement was great. In front, kind of towards the outside shoulder, but more intelligent, knows when to create that burst. It's just going to be, again, his rookie status. He's going to have to learn a lot of stuff, coverages, what happens at the NFL level. But other than that, the kid is special.
What's been your takeaways on Elijah Vera Tucker staying with the rookie class here? Makai Beckton, we know, is not practicing yet, so we're not getting a chance to necessarily see, that dominant left side that every Jet fan is hoping is in place for years to come. But how about your thoughts on Elijah Vera Tucker and then the offensive line as a whole so far? It's
tough to gauge the offensive line when it's not live, when it's not full pads. But, Elijah Vera Tucker in individuals and positionals, you see some of the things that everyone likes, his feet, his hands. He seems to do everything right from a, fundamental standpoint. Beckton has been at OTAs recently, just not participating. And again, with LaFleur's offense, it's a lot of the stuff you'd expect to see: wide zone, boots, all that stuff. So Elijah Vera Tucker will really get a better idea come August, but so far so good.
Robby Sabo with us here. If you're just joining us live, he is the co-founder of the JetsXFactor.com. Also, his new podcast, Jet Fans. You got to listen to it. It's called Underdog with Jets legend number 80, Wayne Corbett. So definitely listen to that if you haven't started listening to it already. Robby, let's move to the defense now. A lot of questions with this team. Of course, there's a secondary that has a bunch of guys that are going to get a chance to compete for the starting corner job. A lot of uncertainty with some of the safeties maybe because of Marcus May not being at camp just yet with the franchise tag contract dispute. Your overall thoughts on what you've seen from the Jets defense?
So far, I mean, what you kind of would expect is going on. There's a lot of youth in the defensive backfield. Bless Austin's been hurt too, which has opened up spots on the outside opposite Bryce Hall. Some guys who have gotten looks. Pinnock, Dunn got some looks Thursday as well. So that combined with Michael Carter II in the slot, who is currently battling Guidry, there's a lot of youth back there. So they're really going to have to depend on the front four, get to the quarterback. At linebacker, CJ Mosley still doing his thing. He had a nice play in the red zone that stood out against Zach Wilson, 7-on-7. He kind of bluffed like he was going to the flat and dropped to the middle and should have had a pick on Wilson. Wilson didn't see him. So what's between the ears with Mosley still there for sure. And yes, you got to be worried about anyone coming back from 2 years off. But with Mosley, he's got a head start because he's that smart. He relies on his intelligence, his football IQ. So if I give, he's got a better shot than anybody to come back after missing 2 years. So, safety too. Marcus May hasn't been there, as we all know. So Joyner's been a mainstay. JT Hassel's getting a lot of looks. He had a pick yesterday as well off of a Chris Herndon deflection. We'll see. When it goes live August, that's when we'll really see, because that's when the pass rushes will be on full display. And that's the key to this defense. The pass rush, hitting home without blitzing, that conventional rush, and they're 8 deep. So can that pass rush generate pressure when they fully go live? That'll be the question that Jets fans really need the answers to.
Robert Saleh comes over. He's, of course, a defensive coordinator, but at his introductory press conference, he said he's going to be coaching the whole team. From what you've seen so far at these practices open to the media, is Saleh focusing on offense, defense? Is he around the entire team? Kind of where has he been, spending a lot of his time as these practices are underway?
He's everywhere. This guy, he just engages with everyone. He's everywhere. It's not a situation where there's 2 head coaches, i.e. Gase and Greg Williams. Saleh didn't have the ego, and I thought this was an important sign. He didn't have the ego in which he felt like he had to call the defensive plays. It's fine if he did, but he didn't have that ego. He let someone else do it in Ulbrich, and he's everywhere. He's engaging during stretches. He's talking to players. He's chatting it up. He comes over to the media, talks to Costello, Samini, those guys. So he's really trying to turn this organization over into a more positive direction where it's more of a family. It's more of a group connection. So from that standpoint, don't think Saleh's just talking about hanging around the defense. And when you say Jets defense, it's tough to say Saleh's defense at this point. It's more the Jets defense because Ulbrich has a heavy hand in it.
That's great to hear. I think every Jet fan wants to have that CEO type of leader, that personality on the sidelines going forward. One position I didn't ask you about on offense that just, it came to my mind here. How about the running back battle? Obviously, it's tough to fully evaluate these guys when they're not really wearing pads. You got to see what happens when someone's about to make a cut, when their head's about to get chopped off, and how they react to that, of course. But from what you've seen so far, they have so many guys that have speed, physical guys. I mean, they have every type of back in that running back room right now. Has anyone really, made a strong impression so far from what you've seen?
Michael Carter's been positive for sure. The rookie's been positive. There's been a couple plays where I've seen his vision on full display. Outside zone, quick cut to find room. And even when it's not live in teams, it's apparent that it's a good job, because when you're at running back in the zone scheme, especially wide zone, the running back, his importance is that much more magnified, because you have to read hats. You have to have excellent one-cut vision, and Carter has that. Ty Johnson too. Ty Johnson has been steady. He's extremely fast. His straight line speed is excellent. And Tevin Coleman, he's been flashing in the passing game. A lot of flat catches. He's had at least 1 or 2 touchdowns in terms of 7-on-7 in teams. I remember one catching one in the flat, diving for the pylon. He definitely got in there before a tackle would have happened. So they're rotating all guys, even Piron. Piron's getting looks too. So I wouldn't expect anything different other than a full rotation come week 1. But so far, all 4 guys have put in the work.
How about tight end? You mentioned Chris Herndon had a drop that led to an interception. I think every Jet fan heard that and was like, here we go again. I mean, we've seen Chris Herndon make plays before. So every Jet fan is hoping that maybe with better coaching, they can maximize the talent that we saw, at the end of Darnold's rookie year back in 2018 with Chris Herndon. Is there a chance we see the real Chris Herndon this year? What do you make of the Jets tight end situation?
The real Chris Herndon. Don't know. And I think a lot of people don't know what that means yet, to be honest. Maybe even Chris Herndon doesn't know what it means.
Right.
The pick I was referencing, Wilson could have took steam off the ball for sure. So there's some blame there. But Herndon didn't get his head around in time on a middle of the field pass. And it hit him pretty much right in the chest, hands deflected up to Hassel. I think Herndon has a shot, but I also think they really love Croft. I think they like Croft in how good a blocker he is in line and his versatility. He could do a lot of different things. Obviously, Wesco's going to see time too because he's their de facto fullback. I mean, how much fullback they use remains to be seen. I think it might be a little less than what we saw in San Francisco, but they'll definitely use it. So I don't know. The question on Herndon is going to be an interesting one. It's the good news is they have a lot of bodies. Herndon, Croft, Wesco. They have a lot of bodies there, and it's similar to receiver. It's similar to running back. It's similar to cornerback. I think that the plan is throw a lot of bodies in there, get the competition going, and then try to see who rises to the top. And then from that point, Joe Douglas knows which bargains he has in order to reach that top level ceiling that he wants.
Robby Sabo with us here. So, Robby, we're going to talk about the quarterbacks for a moment here. I do want to point this out to my fellow Jet fans. My Zach Wilson jersey that I referenced on previous broadcasts here on YouTube. It has arrived from an undisclosed overseas location. So, anyone watching this, if you want the link to how to get your Zach Wilson jersey for under $30, you have to subscribe to me on YouTube right now. And you then got to follow me on Twitter and DM me so I can send you the link. I will not reveal it on YouTube because, there's some reasons why I can't do just that.
Parts unknown.
Exactly. So if you want the link to a Zach Wilson jersey that is solid, really good, legit number 2, then subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Twitter and DM me, and I will send you that link. I want to bring quarterbacks up, though, Robby, because there's a lot of talk about the Jets' lack of a veteran backup. How have the guys behind Zach Wilson looked so far at these OTA practices open to the media that you have been at? And obviously, are you in agreement with a lot of people that the Jets should look to bring in a veteran backup by training camp?
Yes. They have not looked great. And interestingly, Mike White looked tremendous last year. I thought Mike White was great. Him and Lawrence Cager had great chemistry last year in August, but that just has not been there this year. James Morgan, every now and then, flashes where he makes a throw that, you look at and you go, okay, that was nice. It was a nice decision. I see what he saw, and he delivered it perfectly. But they're only flashes. It's not consistent enough, and Mike White is just not duplicating what he did last year. Now, then again, these are just OTAs. What I saw from Mike White last year was in camp, was in August. So there's still time to go. But yeah, I think they need a veteran quarterback. I think it's important, especially for the room, just having that veteran guy. It's along the same lines as Richard Sherman. I know you'd overpay for Richard Sherman, but having that guy in the room is invaluable for these young kids. So in that vein, yes, sign a veteran backup quarterback because from what I've seen, they desperately need it.
Is that veteran Nick Foles in a trade? Is that veteran Nick Mullins, who knows the system? Is that veteran maybe another guy I haven't even mentioned just yet? My preference would be Mullins because he knows the LaFleur offense they're going to be running. I think that'd be beneficial for Zach Wilson to have someone that's been in and around the system the last couple of years. What's your take on the backup spot? If you could only choose one that's out there, who would be the guy you'd bring in, Robby?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with the Isles fan right now. Mullins, I think Mullins is the best option. He knows LaFleur, he knows the system, and it's it's devoid of controversy. Yes, Foles would be the better player. He would be the better quarterback should something happen to Zach Wilson. But in the New York market, you always have to consider that other side, that other part, which is narratives, which is creating news that might not be there. And Foles, no matter what is stated in terms of 1 and 2, that potential is always there. So I think Mullins is my top choice too. I wouldn't say no to Foles, though, at the same time. As long as the price is right, I wouldn't say no to Foles, but Mullins 1, Foles 2.
Looking at the offensive line for a moment here, I'm going through the Jets depth chart, and of course we know Beckton, we know Vera Tucker. How about the right side of the line, though? A lot of talk about the Jets maybe bringing in another veteran at that position, either at guard or right tackle. I think a lot of Jet fans love Dan Feeney based on what he's doing at these Islander games, but we know Feeney is more of the backup type. Left side looks strong. Give me your take on the right side of the Jets offensive line, and if there's any moves that could be made there, Robby.
Well, as my co-founder at Jets X Factor said today, he wrote an article, should the Jets sign Morgan Moses? I think it would be a good idea. I do, if only to ramp up the competition. Van Roten is pretty much plugged into the right guard spot right now at OTAs. I think Fant's doing a tremendous job on the right side at right tackle, and I think Fant will be better than last year because his athleticism, his basketball background will jive that much more in LaFleur's scheme. It's a lot of east-west. Gase was a zone rushing scheme guy too, with some gap principles like LaFleur, but Gase was more inside, more split zone inside, mid zone. LaFleur is more outside. So I think, yes, bring in Moses if you can. Don't go crazy. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you don't get him, but I'm in agreement. Bring him in, get the competition going, and then see what happens in August.
A Jets offensive line that has Beckton at left tackle, AVT at left guard, McGovern at center. You can move Fant to guard if you want, but at this stage of his career, I'm sure maybe he's more of just a swing tackle, so maybe you don't do that. So let's say it's GVR at right guard, and then right tackle becomes Moses. That's an offensive line right there that is going to give Zach Wilson a chance to have every bit of success going forward. That's why if I'm the Jets and I still have the most cap space in the NFL, I'm in agreement. If I could bring in Morgan Moses, Robby, I think you got to do it if you're Joe Douglas.
Yeah, I would too. 100%. Injuries happen. You can't, football's a game where you can't pencil in your players. Even at defensive line, I've been telling people a lot this a lot recently. You can't look at a defense and say, okay, here's my 4 defensive linemen. You got to go 8 there. They rotate. It's the way it is. And on offensive line, even though there's no rotation, injuries happen and competition makes everybody better. Fant going to guard might be a tough thing. Could he do it? Probably. Do you want him to do it? Probably not. But I agree. Get Moses in there and get that competition going.
He's Robby Sabo. If you're just joining us, he is the co-founder of JetsXFactor.com. Great site for all you Jet fans, daily Jets news and insight. And he's also hosting a podcast now called the Underdog Jets Podcast with Jets legend Wayne Corbett. Robby, what I would like to do, we got 41 people watching this live right now, is open it up for some questions or comments about some of the remarks that you have made. If you're just tuning in, Robby has been at every Jets OTA that's been available to the media. So if you have a question for Robby, feel free to write it in the chat box, and we will try and answer as many as we can here. One thought I had, Robby, just looking at Robert Saleh coaching this team, is the fact that he has such a personality, and it's so different than anything we've seen. I was talking to someone that has been at these OTAs as well, and he said it's basically like the Jets have hired the anti-Adam Gase. When you watch Saleh, just how he interacts with people, I know he's like fist bumping the media on his way into practice every day. Does it feel like they have the anti-Adam Gase that is doing their thing, doing his thing at these OTAs?
Would would Adam Gase have ever worn an Islanders jersey to one of the press conferences? No.
Would Adam Gase have ever showed his face at any New York sporting event? Oh,
No. And Saleh going to the Garden, I like that. I like that a lot. But I said it, that was his official New York City christening. And the fact that he's engaging. That's the best word to describe him. He's engaging, no matter what it is. His team, the people covering the team, the city. He's been to Nassau. He's been to the Garden. He wants to be a part of the fabric of the city. And those are traits. That's a correlatable trait to head coaching in the NFL. So, yeah, you're spot on. He's the anti-Gase.
Douglas Bailey wrote in, and we talked about Elijah Moore a little earlier in the show. He's tuning in live. So he goes, is Elijah Moore the real deal? And should I buy his jersey? Robby, you're high on Elijah Moore. We went through what he's done so far. But would you encourage any Jet fan to invest in a number 8 Elijah Moore jersey at this point?
From parts unknown, yeah. Yeah. If you could do it from parts unknown, yes. In terms of authentic, that's an interesting thing, the jersey talk. Yeah, do Jets fans get burned sometimes? Absolutely. Do you go old school? Do you go Namath? Do you go Klecko? Do you go Corbett? It's probably the safer bet, but I think Elijah Moore is also a pretty safe bet. He's probably the safest bet other than AVT right now.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people just go quarterback. They go Zach Wilson, and I get it. People fall in love with the new quarterback, but we've seen Jet quarterbacks. You get the jersey for Sanchez, you get the jersey for Darnold, and you end up going, man, what could have been? So maybe you wait on Wilson and you go Beckton or you go Quentin Williams, 2 guys that are foundational pieces on the team. But if you can't help yourself and you want to go all in on the Elijah Moore or the Zach Wilson jersey, I don't blame you, Jet fans. Just follow me on Twitter and DM me, and I'll give you the link to how to get a jersey for around $30.
Did you go? Which color did you go for Zach Wilson?
So this is green. This is the green Wilson right here.
That's it right there. Okay, gotcha.
And then I'm probably going to order a Beckton one as well. Makai's become my guy. I love what he brings. I just hope he stays healthy, which we should talk about. Obviously, we mentioned he is injured right now. They're being cautious with him. They want him off his feet. What's your take on just Makai Beckton's injury? And, it's not a big deal in June, but obviously this is a guy that missed some time his rookie year, and that will be the only thing that prevents him from being, an all-pro caliber player. Can he stay on the field and play at a high level?
I mean, that was the question when Douglas drafted him, right? That was my slight concern as well. I can't argue with the pick because Douglas went O-line. He went tackle instead of receiver when there was a lot of talk about Jerry Jeudy and the receivers. So from that standpoint, I couldn't argue with it. I wonder what he would have done if Wills was there still, but Wills got snagged by Cleveland right before him. So I don't know. He's got to keep the weight down. Saleh said it in one of the press conferences. A huge part of being an NFL player is the diet, is taking care of the body. And one of the things that Quentin Williams cited, he said this towards the end of his rookie year in the locker room. I've been learning to take care of my body a lot more in terms of nutrition, diet, and then boom, the next thing you know, the next year he has a breakout year. So hopefully Beckton could go, get with Big Q and see how he did it, so he can keep the weight down and move forward. That is the only concern. I wouldn't say it's a major concern, but it's definitely a concern.
Archeesy48, thanks for watching Archeesy. He writes in, does Robby want to predict how many games the Jets will win this year? Well, Robby, do you want to predict how many games the Jets will win this year?
Let's go with the range, the old cop-out range. Anywhere from, there's no reason they can't win 7, 8, 9 games. There's no reason. I think they're better than people think. I think it's sort of a 1997 situation coming off Kotite into Parcells. That 9-7 team got off to a tremendous start and it shocked the world. So and again, their schedule's soft. Their schedule's not that tough to open the season. So they could win 7, 8, 9 games. I'll stick in that range.
How about they win week 1 and we go from there, right? Let's beat Carolina and Darnold and kind of go from there. But you're right. The schedule's not brutal. And what I would like to see as we kind of wrap up here, Robby, if we leave this year knowing that Zach Wilson is getting better, shows signs of being a franchise quarterback, and the Jets are coaching him up. We're seeing growth at that position. And we leave this year feeling like Robert Saleh is the right coach because this team got better as the year went on. This team was in games, right? Maybe they don't win every game, but it's like Joe Judge and the Giants when they were 1-7. They were in all these games, and you felt good about the coaching on that team. If we leave this year with belief in the quarterback and a feeling that they have the right guy at coach, I'm not really concerned about how many wins they get because the wins will come. I just need to know that the foundational pieces on this team are in place as they continue to add to the roster with the draft capital and free agent money they have for years to come.
Yeah, 100%. Zach Wilson, you want to see those signs, but other than Zach, you want to see a whole environment in which quality and growth is happening. So you want to see a couple guys pop up out of nowhere. Like, whoa, where did he come from? If we were to say he would have done this at this time during OTAs, you would have called me crazy. You want to have a couple of those situations pop up as well. So you want to see the depth improve. And as long as you have that good feeling about the engagement with the coaching and the entire environment, and Joe Douglas's favorite word, culture, the culture is present, then yeah, you'd feel good.
Legend Killer writes in, I was all in on Darnold, but we saw how that went. I'm not trying to do it again with Wilson, but what do you think, Robby? Is Zach noticeably better than Sam?
It's at this stage in each's career, 100%. You know, the way Wilson, everything about Wilson is quick. His release, I think, is under the radar. Even how people talk about how special it is, I think it's even that much more special. It gives you such a huge advantage in the NFL in this 3-step drop league. You got to be quick. Your feet have to be quick. Your hands have to be quick. And then your decision making has to be quick, because if it's not quick, you're going to fall behind. And Wilson has that. And in comparison with Darnold, it's definitely apparent. And when you watch it live, even 7-on-7 or teams in OTAs, it's apparent. So yes, I think there's a huge difference.
Love it. He's Robby Sabo. Make sure you check out jetsxfactor.com. You can read his work. They do a great job covering the team. Daily newsletter. So Jet fans, if you want daily Jets coverage right in your inbox, you could go to jetsxfactor.com and sign up there. Check out the site. And Robby's got a brand new podcast with Wayne Corbett. So if you want, a weekly, conversation with Wayne about the current Jets, and Wayne tells a lot of stories about his playing days with New York, you want to definitely download that podcast. It's called the Underdog Jets Podcast. It's through the Believe Podcast Network. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. Robby, any final thoughts here as we wrap up? Great stuff, man. I think every Jet fan watching this either live or watching it after we sign off is going to enjoy the fact that we have someone on here that is breaking down the team, that has seen every throw Zach Wilson has made at OTAs and has been around Robert Saleh's first few real practices with the team.
Yeah, listen, I know it's just OTAs, but feel good because it's different. It's a different atmosphere. And the quarterback's different too. I hate trying to compare Wilson to Darnold because then some people don't find that too savory, but it's noticeably different. He's quick. He's reactive. I think Jets fans should be really excited moving forward because I think the nucleus they have, the process that they value is something that's really of quality.
Robby is on Twitter at Robby Sabo. I'm on Twitter at Jake Asman, Instagram at Jake Asman. You can follow me there. And please subscribe to me right here on YouTube. And we'll continue to have weekly Jets insight and conversation as we get you set for training camp and beyond going forward. Robby, thanks so much, my friend. Talk to you soon. And you did a great job breaking down the team. Hopefully we have more positive Jet conversations in the coming weeks.
Thanks, man. And go Tampa.
Let's go Islanders, everybody. See you later.